see Hogan, who's alongside the 25th-year head coach of the Tarleton Texans, Lonn
And good afternoon from the lobby of Bernard Dodge on the corner of the South Loop and US 281 in Stephenville. Make sure you stop by. We'll be here for another 30 minutes. Plenty of free food courtesy of Cotton Patch Cafe, refreshments, and giveaways later in the half hour. We'll also bring back the life-size dice, and if your name's drawn, you could win an oil change, Tarleton athletic gear, a car wash, or even a car courtesy of Mr. Greg Bruner himself. Lunch with Lonn is sponsored by Bruner Motors. We want to thank them for their support in making this show possible. Coach, good afternoon. Congratulations on the win over West Texas on Saturday night.
Thank you, Casey. It's good to get back in the win column.
Let's get the show kicked off by recapping that one game on the schedule this past week. It was a 65-50 win over West Texas A&M on Saturday at Wisdom Gym. Coach, you came into this game on a 4-game losing streak at 2-5 in the Lone Star Conference, but you've repeatedly said that this is a team that's getting better, and I thought it really showed on Saturday night.
Yeah, I felt like we had gotten really better in the last 10 days, Casey. I thought, we played a really good game out at Eastern New Mexico, had some lapses and let one get away from us that we could have stole out there, and then I thought our kids showed a lot of progress coming back on Thursday, getting back in at 5 o'clock in the morning, going to practice, and really worked hard on Thursday afternoon, and then on Friday, and then you're starting to see our team is starting to transform into what we really want it to be, and I thought that showed up against a great West Texas ball club on Saturday night.
Now, this is the first home game since December 8th where school was in session. You had the students in town. What an atmosphere it was, Coach. 2,713 fans in attendance. Did that give your team a little jump start?
I don't think there's any doubt about that, Casey. I mean, our fans have always been tremendous, and to see our band back and our student body back and the community back and to play in front of a crowd like that, no doubt it energizes your team.
Sure. We talked a lot before this game about having to match West Texas A&M's energy and physicality to have a chance in the ball game. Did you think you not only matched that, Coach, but you were the more physical team?
Well, I thought, anytime you can out-rebound one of Rick Cooper's teams, your kids have accomplished a lot because he's always been known for that. And they're a very physical team. They really body you up on the perimeter. And I thought our kids matched their intensity. I thought we won a rebounding battle that we just had to stay in the ball game. And then, Rick's teams have always been around a 50% shooting team. If you go back in his records, his team's always run 50, 48, 49, 50%, and to hold his team to 35% from the floor was really a tremendous job by our defense.
Yeah, you talked about rebounding. West Texas A&M, the number 2 team in the conference in that category, plus 10 rebounding margin. You out-rebounded them 31-26, and it was a balanced effort. You didn't have one player with over 6 boards.
Well, it was an effort by our whole team, and we talked a lot about that before the ball game. That if we were going to compete and we were going to be in a ball game, we couldn't rely on just one person rebounding. We had to rebound as a unit.
And you shot 54% from the field. You got over 60 points, and that was important because West Texas, when they hold opponents under 60 points, they're 9-1 on the season.
Yeah, I was really pleased with our offensive output. I thought our offense is starting to click some right now. Our post people are really starting to really screen and run and really work the opposite post people, and then our guards are starting to get a better feel of what we're doing. I just thought our practice, you always try to take good practice to a game, and I thought for the first time, we're starting to look at taking our practice and how hard we're practicing and what we're doing in our practice to the game level, and I thought they showed that the other night.
Now, looking at the stat sheet, if you wanted to be picky, one area you did struggle, offensive rebounding. You were out-rebounded on the offensive glass 14-10, and that led to 13 points for West Texas A&M.
Yeah, and they're going to have that, but, I think we shot 54% from the floor, so you're not going to have as many opportunities offensive rebound as when somebody shoots 35% from the floor. And so, again, I thought, that you can look at that, and I want to continue to do that, but I'll take 54% from the floor and have less offensive rebounds any day.
Well, let's talk about Chuck Guy's performance. He accounted for a third of your team scoring with 22 points. He also had 6 assists. Is Chuck becoming one of the top all-around guards in the Lone Star Conference?
Yeah, there's no doubt he has that capability. Now it's just can we do it on a consistent basis, Casey? He's had some big games, and he really has played well in the last couple of weeks. He had 9, even though he had 9 points, he had 8 assists, 2 turnovers in 38 minutes. The other night he had 22 points. 6 or 7 assists, and I don't think he had 2 turnovers in about 38 minutes. He's really starting to play really, really well.
You go back to that Midwestern game, Chuck had 9 assists, no turnovers in 39 minutes.
And so he's, I think he's, and I'm seeing that in practice right now. I'm seeing that he's really, really gearing his practice level of effort up right now. He's playing really well in practice, and I think he's getting over to the game time and doing that in game conditions.
By the way, we'll hear from Chuck Guy himself later in the show for our Texan Player Spotlight. Defensively, you talked about the effort holding West Texas to 35% from the field. Coach, this is the 3rd consecutive game that you've held opponents to 59 points or under. You've got to be pleased with the way your team's playing defensively.
I really am, Casey. That's something that we have to improve on, and we have improved on that throughout the year. And I think it's starting to show in the last few games. You know, we talked about it the other day. You know, we held Midwestern to 50. We've held West Texas to 50. That's not too easy opponents to hold to 50 points. And then we go out to Eastern New Mexico, and really, you know, at the 15-minute mark, we'd only given them 23 points, and they end up with just 59, one at the buzzer. But it shows you that we're starting to put our defensive schemes together. Our guys are starting to understand our defense, what we're trying to do better, and if we can just continue to improve, and when we are improving, and this is the time of the year that, you know, some teams improve, some teams don't improve. And there's no doubt that we are improving, and if we'll continue to improve through the month of February, I think we're going to start peaking. And when you start to peak at the right time, then you can really do some damage.
Coach, you did a great job on Donald Sims, who was the Lone Star Conference preseason player of the year. You held him to 10 points and 3 boards. He came in averaging 14 points and 8.5 boards. And obviously, with the situation after the game, he was pretty frustrated. You got to be pleased with how your guys handled him down low.
Really did a great job. I thought, you know, our defensive scheme was, you know, we really tried to keep the ball out of his hands, and I thought we did a great job of following our game plan defensively. Our guys did a great job. I was very physical with him. He's a very physical player, and you know, anytime you keep one of the best players in this league down to 10 points, and I don't even know how many attempts he had.
He was 4 of 7.
Yeah, so he gets 7 attempts in the whole, you know, in the game, and so that shows you that we're really working hard, fronting him, trying to keep the ball out of his hands. If we do, you know, trying to make him take tough shots.
I do want to mention that John Cathy Macklin was named the Lone Star Conference Defensive Player of the Week after he was part of that effort that held Sims to 10 points. The game before, Cathy Macklin held the Eastern Bigs to 4 points. And, Coach, it's good to see a player like Cathy Macklin, who might not have the stats on the stat sheet, but he's getting the attention that he deserves.
Yeah, I mean, he is really, you know, again, he's working hard, Casey, and he's trying to follow the game plan. You know, he's defending some of the big posts in this league, and you know, he's going to the boards. I like to see him continue to get 8 or 9 rebounds a game. I like to see him get to that double-figure rebound area, and you know, and give us some timely buckets. But really, what I want him to do is get on that offensive board and get some putbacks for us.
Coach, this was a 15-point victory over a very good West Texas A&M team. How much confidence does a win like this give your basketball team going forward?
Well, I think, you know, it helped us a lot, Casey, because I know, you know, we're trying to, when you practice as hard as we're practicing right now and trying to get it better, you want to win ball games to show that's coming along. And I didn't know when that was going to happen. I told you, 2 weeks ago, that it was going to get worse before it got better.
You were right.
And it got worse before it got better. I think when you coach as long as I have and Paul Peak does, you know, you understand that you're going to get worse before you get better. And I told you after that Cameron game that I felt like it's going to get a little worse before it gets better. And then 2 weeks later, it's getting better now. And we had to make some decisions in our program. We had to set some people down. We had to make some tough decisions to get better. And once we made those decisions, and I think you saw our team starting to get better now, and I think we're going to continue to get better, and then we're going to start to peak.
With the big win over West Texas A&M, the Tarleton Texans improved to 9-6 overall and 3-5 in the Lone Star Conference. Tarleton is now in 6th place as we approach the halfway point in conference play. When we return in 1 minute, junior guard Chuck Guy joins the broadcast for our Texan Player Spotlight when Lunch with Lonn continues right after this. Welcome back to Lunch with Lonn. I'm your host, Casey Hogan. It is time now for our Texan Player Spotlight. This week we're joined by junior guard Chuck Guy, so I'll ask our live audience to please welcome Chuck to the show. Chuck, good to see you, man. Welcome. Thanks for 2 minutes of your time. There, we got to move your microphone right there, Chuck. So we're having a technical issue. There we go. We got Chuck. A few weeks ago, Chuck, I had a conversation with a few of your teammates, and we were talking about nicknames on the team. We've given the nickname DeAndre Upchurch. We call him the Deacon. We call Michael Harge Flash. That was his nickname in high school. And they brought it to my attention that Chuck is actually your nickname. That's not your real name.
No, that's not my real name. My grandma gave me that name when I was little. She sounds bad.
You were like, what was that movie, Child's Play? You were Chucky from Child's Play? Do you care to reveal your real name to the crowd here?
My real name is Dalen Guy, but my grandma gave me that name when I was little.
Chuck. You like Chuck a little bit better.
Yeah.
So that's a good basketball name, you know, Chuck Guy. Just kind of. At what age did people start calling you Chuck?
Probably like 6, 5.
So you've been Chuck for a long time.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about, you're from Fort Worth, just down the road. Had you ever heard of Stephenville before you came to Tarleton for a visit?
I heard about the high school. They was always winning football. So.
Yeah. They're pretty good. Won the state championship this year. Now with Fort Worth being so close to Stephenville, I guess it's pretty neat. Your family gets to come to a lot of games, I imagine.
Yeah, it's better. Me being in Arkansas, it was 5 hours away, so it was hard for them to get there. But me being here, they've been in most of the games.
Now let's talk about that. You went to Arkansas Little Rock for 2 seasons. You made 25 starts. You averaged 10.4 points per game last year. What was that experience like to play for a Division I program?
Nah, it was hard. It was hard. I mean, every day was work. I mean, if you wasn't in the gym, then it wasn't gonna get any easier for you. It was hard playing Division I, though.
And I think I speak for every person here when I say that we're very pleased that you decided to transfer to Tarleton and play closer to home. And it seems like, at least on the basketball court, this has been a pretty smooth transition for you.
Yes, sir. It's not easy here either. I mean, it's hard. It's hard work here too. But it's good to be here, though.
And that's going to lead me to my next question. The talent level. Did you think it might be a little bit easier coming here than what it's been? Because you come to the Division II level and you're playing a guy like Eric Lawton who played with you at Arkansas Little Rock.
Yeah, I thought it would be a little easier, but it's the same competition. I mean, it's Division I transfers for other schools too. So it's the same competition.
And I always talk to people about how small of a world it is, and it's kind of a small basketball world. When we played Abilene Christian, I know I was scouting the game, working on my board, and I looked and I saw their starting point guard is Eric Lawton, who also played with you at Arkansas Little Rock. Was it pretty neat to play against him, considering y'all were teammates last year?
Yeah, he wasn't only my teammate, that was my roommate too.
Oh, he was your roommate too? So did y'all jaw at each other before the game?
We was real close though. So yeah, it felt good to play him.
And he's having a heck of a season. I think he's averaging 16 points a game, so he's doing real well over there.
Sure.
And I think their head coach, Joe Golding, was your assistant at Arkansas Little Rock.
Yeah, that was the man up there.
He recruited you,
yes, sir.
right? Now, Chuck, you're currently first in the conference, 69th in the nation in assist-to-turnover ratio. You have 63 assists and only 33 turnovers, and that's impressive considering you're learning a new offensive system here in Tarleton. Talk about how comfortable you are handling the ball and also finding open teammates.
I mean, I'm just a guy that's not selfish. I like to get my teammates involved before I do any scoring. Sometimes coaches tell me that I don't shoot the ball enough. Like, I get all the way.
Coach Reisman tells you that?
I get all the way to the basket and still trying to look for teammates. I mean, I just don't like to turn over the ball. He rather us eat the ball before we turn it over. So
I'll ask Coach Reisman later, but I imagine there's not too many players that he's told that in his career. Shoot the ball more. Now you're coming off a season high 22 points against West Texas and A&M on Saturday night. How big of a win was that for this team?
I was big. We was on kind of like a little slump, but that was a big win. They went on a run, came back late in the game, but we held out. We held our own this time instead of just giving up and. I mean, just went our way this time.
Sure, and it's just going to get harder. You got Texas A&M-Commerce. I know we were talking during the break about how tough they are. They're 6-1 at home this season, and obviously you're 0-4 on the road. How fired up is this team to go and get their first road win?
I think we're pretty fired up. We've been having great practices. Like every day has been intense. I mean, we want to get better and trying to get on a win streak so we can finish this thing off.
Now, did you get to Tarleton in the summer or in the fall?
I came in the summer.
Okay, and so you've been here a short amount of time. In that time period, what have you learned from Coach Reisman and the staff since getting to Stephenville?
I learned a lot. I mean, he's always honest. I know that he's always honest, and he's willing to work with you. You work hard, and he's gonna give you opportunity.
Chuck, thanks for your time, man. I just want to say as a broadcaster, and I know the fans, I probably speak for them, it's a lot of fun to watch you play with the passion and energy that you bring to the floor, so keep it up. Appreciate a few minutes of your time.
So thanks.
That's Texan point guard Chuck Guy for this week's Tarleton Player Spotlight. Let's take a 1-minute break, and when we return, Coach Reisman rejoins the broadcast, and we'll preview this week's matchups against Texas A&M-Commerce and McMurray when Lunch with Lonn continues right after this. Welcome back to Lunch with Lonn, live from the recently renovated lobby at Bruner Dodge. It's time now to preview this week's matchups against Texas A&M-Commerce and McMurray University. Coach, let's start with tomorrow's game in Commerce against the Lions of Texas A&M-Commerce. They're 11-7 overall, 4-4 and in fourth place in the Lone Star Conference. And Coach, if you look at this series, we were talking about it earlier, between Tarleton and Commerce, you've had the upper hand in recent years. You've won 7 out of 10. You haven't lost in the Fieldhouse in 5 years, and that's impressive considering they have a very high-quality program in the job that Coach Walker does.
What you trying to do, jinx me?
Yeah, I know. Probably ought to stop saying stuff like that, because I don't know if I'm a good luck charm.
I know one thing.
But facts are facts.
The Fieldhouse is hard to play, and I can tell you that. Commerce has got an outstanding team this year. Sammy does a great job, and we've had some great battles with them. It seems like every time we play them, it's a really tough battle, and their kids will be well prepared. We'll be well prepared, and every game right now. If you look at this conference right now, Commerce has gotten some good wins at home. They beat Midwestern at home, which is a great win for Sammy, and And it's going to be a tremendous. It's going to take a tremendous effort for us to go on the road over there and win a game. And if you can go in and steal a game, and in a place like Commerce, it just gives you a lot of momentum going into the next week.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Commerce 6-1 at home this season.
Yep.
Your team 0-4 on the road. Does that make this game even bigger because you don't want to finish the first half of conference play 0-5?
Well, that's no doubt. It's kind of been our Achilles heel. I mean, we've been in every game on the road, and we've had some great opportunities. We're at Angelo State early in the year. We're up 13, and we're up at a Cardinal Word by 4 with just 3 minutes to go. Where I want to be, I'll take a 4-point lead with 3 minutes to go every day on the road. And we're up 15 at Eastern New Mexico. We have been in every game on the road until the end, and we just haven't been able to, hit that gas pedal when we had to. And so maybe tomorrow at Commerce finally gets us over that hump and gets us into that fourth win, and that first half of the season's over at 4-5. And I like it because our last 3 out of 5 are at home this year.
Yeah, and you're right. And if you can get the win tomorrow, you're right in the middle of the pack. And I think there's 2 teams tied at 7-2 right now.
It's not, and that's right. There's some people have 2 losses right now, and I don't think that's over with. I still think with this league is so close this year. There's not just one team that just jumps out and just can dominate anybody. And this is the first time I've seen it like that in many years. And I'm not sure that there won't be 4 losses for the champion.
Could be
possibly be 5, but I think that you're going to see that. I think that anybody can beat anybody on any given night. There's no one that just seems to be just dominating this conference right now. Midwestern goes into Cameron the other night. Cameron beats Midwestern, and
1 point.
1 point. And I mean, those are the type of games I think you're going to see. And those are the type of games that if you're lucky to pull out those 1 or 2 or 3 pointers, then you're going to be there at the end.
Now this is a high-powered Commerce offense. They average 76 points per game. That's second in the conference, but they have been held under 55 points in 2 out of their last 3 games, and you have to feel pretty confident heading into this matchup the way you're playing defensively.
Well, Sammy and I play 2 different games, and I know I watched them on tape. They really like to transition. They like to push the ball. They've been to the free throw line 494 times this year, and that's just a lot of free throws. And I think a lot of that's off transition and penetration. They have shot 154 more free throws than their opponents, and that's a key tomorrow to keep them off the free throw line. I want to get into a grind game, and that's no secret if you're listening over there that Sammy knows it. I'm going to get into a grind game tomorrow. I'm not going to, I'm going to work that shot clock down. We're going to open up the floor some, and we're going to play like we did against West Texas. I want to, and Rick is pretty much the same way I am. We want to grind it out pretty good, and I want to work for shots, and I want to get into an ugly game. That's all there is to it, and I like to play ugly at this time of the year, and some people don't like to play ugly, and it can frustrate an opponent sometimes when they're sitting down there, for 30 seconds, and it kind of gets them out of their rhythm. And I think the best way, you have to find some way to get a team out of their rhythm or get them in an uncomfortable situation. And one thing good about our team is we've been able to take care of the ball pretty well this year with Chuck at the point. And we got some good guards that can take care of the ball and keep our offense moving. We got some bigs that can screen and move. And if we can do that, and we can play a great, really play well on the other side of the floor, and make sure we keep them off the offensive boards and go back up the floor and get into it again, then I think that we're going to play our style game. If we end up playing their style game and the game's up into the 70s, we're in trouble. If the game's down into the 50s, 60s, then we have a chance to win.
Just a few quick notes on their personnel. Their leading scorer is Preston Whitley, the forward, who averages 14.5 points per game. That's 6th in the conference. He can also rebound and shoot the 3, but he didn't even play on Saturday night against Eastern New Mexico. Do you expect to see Whitley back in the starting lineup?
I think, I don't know if he'll be in the starting lineup. I mean, Sammy's got to feel pretty good about him not playing last week against Eastern New Mexico and still beating Eastern New Mexico. And so he might have found, maybe he's looking at something a little different over there. He could be in the starting lineup. If he's not, I imagine he'll be in the game pretty quickly.
And it's not just Whitley. When they've got 6 guys, Coach, that average over 8 points per game.
And that's a tribute to their program. I mean, you really can't key on somebody. And I think that, we're the same way. We have 3 guys averaging double figures right now. We have another one at 8 or 9 points. We got another one at 8 or 9 points. And when you can be balanced like that, you don't have somebody just scoring 25 where the team depends on that one person to carry them. then I think you're better off with balanced scoring and a player that somebody just can't key on all the time to say, you take him out of the game, they're going to lose the game. I like the balanced scoring part.
Well, and you talk about balanced scoring. It doesn't get any more balanced than what the Tarleton Texans are right now. You have 3 players averaging 10.7 points per game.
Right at 11 points a game, 3 of them, and then one's averaging about 9 points a game, and one's averaging about another 9 points a game. So I mean that's. You never know who's gonna make that big step up every night for us.
So it's Tarleton and Texas A&M-Commerce tomorrow afternoon from the Phil House in Commerce, Texas. Now after that matchup, Tarleton returns home on Wednesday night to face the Warhawks of McMurray University at Wisdom Gym. It's a 7 o'clock tip-off. The Warhawks 11-4 overall. They're 2-4 on the road this season. And I know when I started scouting this, initially I thought, well, McMurray just got to the Division II level. It's their first year, so this should be a pretty easy game. But don't be mistaken, the Warhawks are 3-0 against the Lone Star Conference this year.
They have beaten Cameron by 20. They have beaten Kingsville by 15. They have beaten Encarton and Word by 8. I would say that they're a pretty formidable opponent next Wednesday night. They have played really well, and they really established themselves as a top team in the Heartland Conference, and they are 3-0 against the Lone Star, and not any of those 3 wins. They pretty much dominated the game.
And they have a player in Kenny Williams who's averaging 20 points and 8 boards per contest, but he hasn't played because of an injury in the last 6 games. And
he'll probably get well against us. That's the way it always happens.
I was going to say, with our luck, he'll show up.
He'll get well against us. We bring the best out and get people off the injury list.
But even though he hasn't played, without him, they've still won ball games.
Oh, yeah. I always tell our staff this. I don't want any kid not to miss a game. I mean, if we're not good enough to beat a team with their best people on the floor, then we're not good enough. But I don't want to see any student athletes hurt. I don't want to see. I want when you beat somebody, you want to beat their best. You want to beat who they have on on their team. And so I hope he's better and I hope he can recover and get back out on the floor.
Now this should be another physical defensive battle similar to what we saw on Saturday night against West Texas. McMurray coach, #1 in the Heartland Conference in scoring defense, and it looks like Chris Beard is another defensive-minded coach.
Well, Chris was the assistant out at Texas Tech with Bobby Knight for during the whole tenure of Coach Knight out there, and then he also was an assistant for Pat when Coach Knight left. So, he's been pretty much raised by Coach Knight out there, and they're running their motion offense, and he's running the same type of defense that Coach Knight did out there. So he's probably he's been ingrained in that philosophy, and I think he's instilled that in his kids. And you're going to get to see a very well prepared and a very well coached basketball team next Wednesday night when they come to town.
Once again, it's a 7 o'clock tip-off from Wisdom Gymnasium. It's autograph night, and Coach, we talked about how tough of a matchup this is, and this is the type of game where a large, active crowd could make the difference.
No doubt. I mean, our crowd there's no doubt in my mind that our crowd was a big factor in how we played last Saturday night when you play in front of 2,700 people, and our kids responded to it. It was good to see everybody back, and we have 11 games left, Casey. We have 6 at home and 5 on the road, and so. It's very important that we take care of our home games, and we're going to see some great teams come in here in the last 6 games. There's no doubt about that. And then we're going to have to go on the road, and we've got to find some road wins.
We'll take our final break, and when Coach and I return, it's time to bring out the life-size dice, and we'll give away some great prizes to our audience here at Brunner Dodge. We're back in 1 minute on the Tarleton Athletic KSTV Radio Network. Tarleton Athletic Apparel will also give away a car wash, and you could possibly win a car courtesy of Brunner Motors. So another fantastic crowd here at Brunner Motors, Coach, and let's reward them by announcing our winners. So we'll roll the dice.
I have Paul Peak and Travis Livingston. So Paul Peak's going to come up first.
There's the dice right over there.
Speaking of Texas A&M-Commerce, former head coach of the Lions, Paul Peak. So Paul's going to come up and roll those dice.
You got to roll the dice,
There's Paul.
You just got to roll, Paul. You got to watch it. They can't skid it. They'll get you in trouble.
No skidding. You can't land it on what you want. You got to roll it. So Paul's going to roll the life-size dice to see what he's going to win.
Life-size dice. Here we go. What's Paul?
Here we go. Can we get a drum roll, please? There it is.
There we go. What do we get?
Oh, a T-shirt.
T-shirt.
Congratulations
Get Paul a T-shirt.
to Paul. So just what he needs, another Tarleton T-shirt.
Yeah, I bet he's got a few T-shirts from Kayla.
And next up, Coach?
Travis Livingston.
Travis. Good,
Travis,
great Tarleton supporter.
Dice.
He's going to roll the dice.
Roll that dice, Travis.
Here we go. Travis will roll the dice. We'll see
roll
what
it
he
down
wins.
here. Roll it.
There Another shirt. They got that dice rigged.
I don't know. It just keeps coming up.
Last week, I think Greg Bruner might have that dice rigged to where it doesn't land on the
I don't know.
card.
Dr. Cruz is out here. He's our faculty athletic rep. He's starting to question whether it's loaded.
Oh, on that note, the next broadcast of Tarleton, Texan and TEXAN basketball is tomorrow afternoon from the Fieldhouse in Commerce, Texas, as both squads take on the Lions of Texas A&M-Commerce. The Texans tip off at 2 o'clock. The pregame show starts at 1:45, followed by the Texans at 4 o'clock. And remember, there's always a 15-minute pregame show prior to the Texans broadcast, which includes the associate head coach, Chris Reisman, pregame interview. The next home game for Tarleton is Wednesday night as the Warhawks of McMurray University come to town. It's a 7 o'clock tip-off. And remember, the Texans will be signing autographs after the game, so make sure you come out to Wisdom Gym and support the Tarleton Texans on Wednesday night. On February 6th, the Texan cheerleaders invite you to their annual all-you-can-eat spaghetti supper. It'll be hosted in the small gym at Wisdom Gymnasium. It'll cost only $5. I want to tell Dan he might need to next year increase that. That's $5 for all-you-can-eat spaghetti supper.
That's right. He wants a big turnout.
So forget cooking that night. Come out and let the Texan cheerleaders feed you before you head over to the big game against that's Wednesday, February 6th, prior to the doubleheader against Angelo State. The Lone Star Conference preseason polls for softball and baseball were announced this week. Coach Mata's Texans were picked to finish 7th in the Lone Star Conference, and head coach Brian Conger's Texans were picked to finish 3rd in the Lone Star Conference preseason poll. And also, congratulations, Coach. Senior right-handed pitcher Pete Perez was tabbed as the Lone Star Conference preseason pitcher of the year. So great honor for our school. And we all know that, you know, you ask a coach about a preseason poll, what do they always tell you?
Don't mean a whole lot until you get out there and play.
But good publicity.
It's good for recruiting.
And next week at the show, we'll talk about the season openers for the Texans and the Texans, as those are still over a week away. The Coach Ronnie Hearn radio show every Thursday at noon from the lobby of First Financial Bank in Stephenville, and of course, Lunch with Lonn is every Friday at noon from Bruner Dodge. And once again, we want to thank Bruner Motors for hosting Lunch with Lonn. Thank you to Cotton Patch Cafe as they provided today's food. We want to thank Lorena back at the KSTV studios for producing the broadcast, and to our engineer Justin McClure. Last but not least, thanks to our entire live audience here at Bruner Dodge, and to each of you listening on KSTV, the Mighty 93. Coach, time now for our final question. Saturday's game will be played from the Fieldhouse in Commerce, Texas. When I was a student, we affectionately called it the airplane hangar. One of, if not the biggest win in your program's history was in the South Central Regional Championship game back on March 15th, 2005. Talk about that game 8 years ago and what it meant for your program.
Well, Casey, I mean, Commerce just had a tremendous team that year. I think they were 28-4 at that game time, and they had not lost a game at home all year. Sam just had a tremendous season, and they believed that they were in the South at that time, and we were in the North, and in the Lone Star Conference. And you know, we were just able to go over there, and we had a great South Central Regional Tournament in the NCAA. We beat Central Missouri the first night, and then we beat Pitt State, who had a great team, and then of course a matchup between us and Commerce for the right to go to the Elite Eight. And it was a memorable night. It was our first, it was a big night for us to go to the Elite Eight. It was our first trip to the Elite Eight.
Huge crowd,
and we had a huge crowd from Stephenville over there, and then of course they had it packed from Commerce, and great atmosphere, and it was everything we'd want in the game, and we were just very fortunate and blessed to pull it out and win a big game over there.
Coach, thanks again for your time. Best of luck going back to the Fieldhouse tomorrow.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's the head coach of the Tarleton Texans. That's going to do it for this 4th edition of Lunch with Lonn. Make sure you tune in on Saturday at 4 o'clock as the Texans take on the Lions of Texas A&M-Commerce. For head coach Lon Reisman, I'm Casey Hogan saying so long from Bruner Dodge in Stephenville. Until next time, have a great Friday, everyone, and we'll talk to you tomorrow afternoon from Commerce, Texas.